From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. The Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly considered a couple of high-profile ordinances last night.
Jamie Schwartzwald was there and has the story.
Sexually oriented business zoning ordinance was modified slightly before passing unanimously. New SOBs will now be permitted in light or heavy industrial districts or in some GU zones under conditional use permits. The ordinance originally set buffers of 1,000 feet from residential areas and 500 feet from sensitive receptors like schools, churches, or daycare centers. That second buffer was pushed up to 1,000 feet through an amendment. Assemblyman Christopher Quist's amendment to eliminate stores that sell sex toys from the zoning conditions passed 5-3. The Assembly spent a majority of the meeting taking testimony and discussing an ordinance to shift the conduction of local elections to a by-mail voting model. It was brought forward by Assemblyman Lance Roberts with the goal of increasing voter participation.
Convenience is a large part of this. When someone gets that ballot, they can sit at home for a couple weeks, they can look it over, they can talk about it, they can do the research.
While there would be 2 polling stations on Election Day, a majority of those who testified worried mail-in voting would do away with a time-honored American tradition.
Our ability to go to a voting booth on Election Day, to get together with our community, to say, look, we vote.
Actually, they don't vote much. Turnout in recent municipal elections has been less than stellar.
And here in Fairbanks, we're not 55 to 60, we're 20 to 25 in a good year. And we're as low as 15% in some years. That's abysmal. I'm sorry.
However, that apathy was not enough to convince the Assembly to go to a mail-in voting model. The ordinance was defeated 7-1, with Lance Roberts casting the only yes vote. There would have been higher costs associated with initial startup, but that wasn't the primary sticking point for Assemblyman John Davies. He was worried that mail-in voters would be influenced by outside sources.
When you go into the polling place, the voting booth, you are not to be influenced by anyone. That is the place that's sacrosanct, and what that allows is a person to vote their conscience.
Fairbanks Memorial Hospital was officially moved one level closer to full accreditation status. The Joint Commission, a nonprofit which inspects healthcare facilities for potentially dangerous practices, told FMH it has successfully corrected policies which were previously deemed unsatisfactory. The hospital was under scrutiny last month after improper sterilization techniques were discovered by the Commission. FMH officials have since changed their policies and pushed to educate employees about proper procedures. The healthcare organization will need to pass several more surveys over the next 3 months to return to full accreditation from the now contingent status. Fairbanks Memorial Hospital CFO Jim Lynch says inspecting bodies like the Joint Commission are a crucial aspect of providing quality healthcare to patients.
Even if we have a less than stellar or even embarrassing inspection report, the silver lining is that means we've identified things that genuinely need to be improved. We go out and make those improvements. And truly that is how the science of improvement works in healthcare. And so they will be with us for a long time.
The family of murder victim John Kaverlik Jr. is offering a reward for information that could lead to an arrest of his killer. Kaverlik was shot outside the Rock and Rodeo bar in the early morning hours of May 17th. He was 23 years old and had a 3-week-old baby. Fairbanks police have released footage of the suspects in the case. They are seeking 4 black males who they believe are involved in the shooting as well as prior events inside the bar. A $5,000 reward trust has been set up by the Anchorage Crime Stoppers and Victims for Justice. Now, if you recognize any of the men in the video, please call 561-STOP to reach Crime Stoppers or Detective Malloy at 450-6500.
These are not nice people. But this is terrible. You know, 4 men, John Kaverlik Jr. by himself, no weapon on him, basically just killed, you know, cold-blooded murder in front of his wife. They had the new baby.
It might spark more conversation among the community, and someone might think of something and say, hey, you know, I should look at the video or something, and it could work, and we're praying it works.
And the city mayor, John Eberhart, also mentioned that the search for the killers has now expanded to Anchorage because none of the tips have actually panned out here in Fairbanks at this point.
Good to know. Thanks, Stephanie. When we come back, the Department of Public Works is preparing for their annual spring cleanup tomorrow, where volunteers will clean up the waterways around Fairbanks.
Also, we'll continue with our weekly gardening tip series, tonight focusing on what bugs are good to have in your garden. These stories and more when we return. Welcome back to the Fbx Evening News. A Fort Wainwright housing area once deemed unsafe to live in is now safe again after 10 years. Ryan Grimes has more.
It was in 2005 that unsafe chemicals were found to be underground the old Taku Gardens housing area at Fort Wainwright. The Environmental Protection Agency ordered military housing to be off limits and called for the immediate cleanup of any PCBs or polychlorinated biphenyls from the topsoil. 10 years later, the Army did just that.
We excavated down 18 feet or more, refilled on top of that with good clean soil, and then we went back in and put a fresh coat of topsoil and seeded it. It's beautiful property.
1, 2, 3.
110 new houses are now open for soldiers and their families to live in. All of them come with multiple bedrooms, a spacious living room, high ceilings, and a heated garage. U.S. Army Alaska General Michael Shields paid a visit to the complex. He even perused through the house of the first Tanana Trails resident.
And quite honestly, there's just not that much housing out in the local community. So we're able to bring those families in here and bring them into the community and get great schools, great amenities, great athletic facilities. And I'd be really excited to come in and to move into quarters of this quality.
It's great. It's we were stationed here before under the old housing system, and again, from what they brought that housing area to this new Tanana Trails, it's just amazing. Being part of something like this, knowing what it means to the community and knowing what it means to Fort Wainwright and Miss Larson and their crew, to get this done and finally hand keys over to soldiers, you can't put a price on that. That's something great when we can do this for the community and for the soldiers on Fort Wainwright.
This is Ryan Grimes reporting from Fort Wainwright.
The forecast for tomorrow is calling for sunshine and warmer temperatures across the interior. Now, these conditions will be perfect for cleaning up the waterways surrounding the city, which is why volunteers will be gathering to participate in the annual Stream Cleanup Day tomorrow morning at the picnic area on Danby Street near College Road. Every year, the efforts are directed toward the Noise Slough and parts of the Chena River.
And at 9 a.m. we'll have a safety briefing and we'll hand out trash bags and gloves to volunteers and assign people to different sections of the slough and different sections of the river through downtown, as well as the bike path on the Chena River, to pick up trash out of our local waterways and off the bank of the river and off the bank of the slough.
All right, well, there will also be a barbecue for all the volunteers after the event has ended, and that should be around noon. Changing topics, it's time once again for another installment of
installment of gardening tips. Tonight, we felt like the Brady Bunch there. Tonight, we continue with more ways to effectively protect your gardens with bugs instead of chemicals.
I'm Darcy Echeverry here at the Plant Kingdom with the owner, Cindy Warbelow-Tack. And we're going to talk with you today about insects in your garden. So you may have seen an infestation of insects in your garden that you thought were causing problems, but more commonly our gardens are host to a wide array of beneficial insects and spiders.
And Darcy, something else I'd like to mention, it's another tool in the toolbox to help your plant against pests that you might not want on it, and that is that if you keep your plant healthy, and that means watering it appropriately, not too dry, not too wet, using probably organic, low analysis fertilizers instead of the high salt, high analysis fertilizers that encourage real soft, succulent growth with thin cell walls that sucking insects love. And also maybe using compost tea, anything to build up the immune system of your plant. They can withstand bug infestations much better. And I've seen plants that look great and you look under the leaf and there's an aphid. I've seen plants that look horrible and they don't have any aphids on it. An aphid will not kill a plant. And sometimes people think that within a few weeks an aphid infestation will kill a plant. Not likely.
Make sure you get a correct ID before you decide to do any treatment and make sure it is the problem. There's resources that you can use. And you can also bring in specimens to the Cooperative Extension Service for identification.
And Darcy, one thing that you said that I'd like to really reinforce is the concept that when you find a bug that you think is doing damage, make sure it's doing damage, and then and know what bug it is. Because to me, we have people walk in and say, I've got an ugly bug in my garden, what can I spray it with? And that's kind of like saying, I'm sick, give me an antibiotic, and not knowing what's wrong with you and what antibiotic you should have. And so it's really important to know that your bug is causing you troubles, what it is, so that you can take the appropriate action.
Well, join us next week for gardening tips. We'll be joining Stephen Seefelt talking about lawn care.
Gardening Tips, brought to you by Fairbanks Stump Grinders and by Midnight Sun Family Medicine.
That was a fun little Stephanie Darrell twist up.
Yeah, I think we should just keep it on the two-shot, and we'll
share.
Yeah, we'll share. We're like that.
We're like that. Share, whatever.
Joe Cook is up next. He's single, by the way. So with a recap of local racing at the North Pole Speedway.
No, why you gotta dime him out like that?
No, I didn't
Ladies,
mean single in life.
Newsroom
I just meant
458-1830.
just him.
Also,
Right.
the Gold Panthers aren't the only Fairbanks team playing summer baseball.
Find out about that and more after the break with Joe.
He likes tall people, tall blondes.
TGIF Interior Alaska, Joe Cook here with your Friday Sportscast. It was a bittersweet Thursday night at the northernmost paved oval at the North Pole Speedway. A number of drivers were bit by the breakdown bug, if you will. Defending Legends champion Al Treadle ran into some mechanical issues and he could not run the main event race. He missed last week as well. He said it's his first major mechanical problem in about 4 seasons with his number 43. In the Bandos class, 2013 champion Justin Salmons, he got in 2 laps before a couple of teeth on his clutch broke, so his night was finished. That was bad news. Now the good news, Steve Alt, who you just saw, he continued to own the lawnmower class. Delaney Ott is doing the same in the quarter midgets. Last year's Bandos champion Destiny Todd picked up her first main event win of the season, an important win as she tried to keep pace with current points leader Shylan Anneker. For the Legends, John Beck picked up his second main event victory of the season last night and is now the new points leader. He admits it's different not seeing number 43 on the track.
It doesn't change him much. Harker's quite a competition for me still, too. He's been here a long time. I think when Al's out there, he pushes me more, makes me push myself, drive a little on the edge, but I miss when he's not out there. But this year I feel like I have more confidence than I did before, so I'm going to push it, see if I can keep up with him.
It feels good. I'm happy. It was a good race night. I'm happy we got to race because of the rain. It's the same setup as last year, and I'm really happy with it. Wouldn't change it. I've got my confidence back. It's gonna be good.
UAF rifleman Mats Eriksson joins his teammate as an academic All-American. Today, Eriksson was named to the Capital One Academic All-America First Team for Division I, joining teammate Ryan Anderson, who made it to the first team yesterday. Eriksson finished UAF with a 3.97 GPA in business admin and economics. He's a 2-time NCAA Elite 89 winner for rifle, which goes to the highest GPA at a national final. He was picked as a first-team All-American in small bore by the NRA and was an honorable mention by the Collegiate Rifle Coaches Association. The Alaska Gold Panthers start their season tonight, but some other local baseball teams, their seasons have already started for the summer. The Alaska American Legion baseball season is in full swing. The Alaska Wild, Fairbanks Post 30, and the Fairbanks 49ers, or Post 11, are in action this weekend. The Wild hosts South Anchorage Post 4 in double A ball this weekend at Arco Field. The 49ers host South as well in single A ball at Marlin Field. Both Fairbanks teams have doubleheaders at noon on Saturday. The teams are also scheduled to play on Sunday for 11 a.m. games. Last summer, the Wild finished 9-9 in the National League for 5th place, and the 49ers, they were 7th overall with a 5-13 record. Never lie, kids. That's what we tell our children. But what about grown-ups? We know better, but a little white lie can have huge effects. Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr lied about his starting lineup, and it paid off. By starting former All-Star Andre Iguodala in place of center Andrew Bogut, the Warriors were able to set a faster pace, which helped them win a pivotal Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Iguodala, a.k.a. Iggy, responded with a season-high 22-point game to lead the Warriors and the others, as Draymond Green and Harrison Barnes played their best games of the series as well. LeBron James was held to 20, 12, and 8, but he shot 7 for 22. Timothy Mozgov, he led the Cavs with 28 points and 10 rebounds. The Warriors, they blow out the Cavs in a 103-82 victory to tie the series 2-2. Game 5 is Sunday at 4 o'clock Alaska time in Golden State. And the weekend is finally here. There is plenty to do this weekend before the summer solstice next weekend. For local runners, the 23rd Mosquito Meander 5K run begins at 10 a.m. this Saturday at Pioneer Park. Then on Sunday is the Wickersham Dome Trail Run. That's a 7.75-mile run at the White Mountains Trailhead, 28-mile Elliott Highway. The Alaska State PETA Shooting Championships continue on Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. at the Fairbanks Track Club, 1150 Old Stees Highway. For the full list of weekend events, visit the sports page on Webster11.com. And the final play of the week for the 2014-2015 season comes from Hutchinson High School. And the votes, they were a landslide. Kimmy Duffield's home run is the play of the week. The Hutchinson junior pitcher sparked a rally for the Hawks with a 3-run homer against the Homer Mariners last Friday night in the state softball tournament. Homer made that home run made it a 10-6 game, but the Mariners, they were going to win this one 14-9. Nonetheless, Kimmy Duffield provides us with the play of the week. The I-5 Interior Top 5 plays will return later this year. And that'll do it for sports tonight. Mike Schultz is up next with your weekend weather forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome into our Friday night edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. Mike Schultz with you talking about weather, and we're talking about a fantastic weekend coming up. Lots of sunshine, temperatures warming up to the low 80s by Monday and continuing through midweek of next week, and no wind in sight for this high pressure, giving us nice clear skies. So enjoy it. It's going to be fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, look at this beautiful photograph sent in by William Blizzard. This is a kind of a take your breath away sunset, as you can see why. Look at the colors on that and the reflection off the water. That is just a gorgeous photograph. I wouldn't be surprised to see this in the calendar for next year. Again, as always, photos at ktvf11.com if you want to have a photo to share with the rest of the audience. Here's our numbers. Let's just go ahead and go to the satellite and radar and show that, because it's pretty interesting here. Again, the high pressure is really starting to take over. Look at these clouds just taking a dive down to the south because high pressure is moving in from Canada. That's going to keep all the moisture away and all the clouds away. It's looking really good. And no wind in sight, like I said. Across the rest of the state, what's going on? Well, for the most part, we have partly cloudy skies at Juneau and also partly cloudy skies at Ketchikan. Nice day in Anchorage, up to 66 degrees there. And over Kodiak, even the 60s there, 61. With Cold Bay, 68 degrees. So this is all the high pressure starting to work its way into the north. It's this warm down to the south. It's going to really be warm in the interior. Kind of chilly on the west coast, though, 41 degrees at Nome. And Barrow up to 46 degrees. Nice for them. Well, Fort Yukon checked in with 59. Lower 48 weather looks like this. And again, we're talking about nice weather over the Pacific Northwest. Not quite as warm as it has been for Seattle. It's warming up though over the desert Southwest. 100 degrees in Las Vegas, 104 in Phoenix. And the thunderstorms have returned to West Texas. Some of those could be severe. We'll tell you about that in just a little bit. Elsewhere over the northern and central plains, it's not too bad. Close to 80 degrees in Minneapolis. Really hot in St. Louis, 93. Again, the nation's capital. Washington, D.C., 94 degrees. New York at 88. And over the Florida Peninsula, lots of sunshine. On the satellite and radar, you can see a lot of energy moving across the western sections of Texas into parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska. And that spells trouble because that means that some of those storms are going to become very powerful. As you can see here, damaging wind, large hail, flash flooding conditions, isolated tornadoes. It's like a broken record. We've been saying this quite a bit this year, and it looks like more for Texas, which is something they don't really need. The overall outlook for this early next week, I should say, is the jet stream still maintains its movement way to the north, moving from the west to the east. More thunderstorms and hot temperatures continuing over the southern half of the country, sizzling over the southeast, and very warm up and down the west coast, too, of California. All right, back to Alaska for tomorrow. Looks like this. Northern sections, mostly cloudy at Barrow and Nome, and lots of sunshine expected for Fort Yukon. Here in the interior, beautiful weather, abundant sunshine for all of the region, with temperatures really warming up near 70 degrees here in the Fairbanks area. Tomorrow's forecast for southeast Alaska, mostly cloudy at Juneau, partly cloudy skies in Ketchikan, and the temperatures there will slowly rise also. Over the southwest, a mixed bag of weather once again. Partly sunny skies for Cold Bay, mostly sunny skies for Kodiak, and mostly cloudy skies for Bethel. And down around the Anchorage Bowl, looking at becoming mostly sunny at Anchorage, and partly cloudy skies at Homer and Valdez. Okay, your forecast for the remainder of the night for the Fairbanks area looks like this. Skies becoming partly cloudy Not as cool as last night, 44 degrees for the overnight low. Tomorrow's forecast for all the outdoor activities. You couldn't ask for better weather. Lots of sunshine, 70 degrees. And look at Sunday, right on through Thursday of next week. Low 80s for Monday and Tuesday, and near 80 for the rest of the 5-day period, with overnight lows also rising to the low 50s to the mid 50s. No precipitation in the forecast. Guys, this could not be a better forecast. I don't think you could look for a better forecast than this with all the activities that are going to be happening tomorrow, and there's a lot of them too.
All right, good job. Thank you, Mike. Great weekend. It's time once again to announce the winner of our Stan Stevens giveaway. This week it is Rose Ahern. We will be contacting you, Rose. Be sure and sign up, the rest of you, at Kindle Auto for a chance to win a cruise for 2 in Valdez. That will wrap up this edition of our broadcast. We'll see you at 11.